Welcome back to Ymt112 Algorithm and Programming 2 tutorial. So we were discussing GUI applications. We discussed the first three questions about actually the introduction of how to create GUI applications and how to customize them. We used three different components or widgets, the text field, the label, and the button. And we also learned about how to create a panel to place these components on the panel directly, not the window directly. So, on the panel then the window, not the window directly, or the component of the window itself. So, we created what we call a button, and we tried to click on that button. We got nothing out of that click. So what was the idea is, okay, we didn't create any action to be taken when we click the button, and we said once we reach to the fourth question, or this questions that we are discussing now, we will learn how to customize or how to manage the action taken once the button or a button is clicked. So we said that this is what we call in a technical term registering the button and then managing the action taken while clicking on this button. Okay, so let's go to the question. Design a GUI that has the following components. So we have a text field. We know how to deal with it. Its size is 5. All right. So earlier I didn't provide any size. Look, this one, I just provided the default text provided here so that you as a user know what to enter. However, here the text field size is 5. That means 5 digits, or 5 actually characters, because what we receive from this text field is actually text, even if it is numerical. Okay, we deal with it as a character. And the button named actually, not name, a button named calculate, and the text label to prompt the user to do what? To prompt the user to do the following. Your program should accept an integer. So we have a text field, okay? This text field has a size 5, okay? And will accept an integer. Actually, this one is repeated. Well, this one to prompt the user to enter the whatever it is, we can eliminate this one. It's not needed actually. We have a text field and we have a button, and this text field will prompt the user actually to enter whatever it is, the value that we are going to enter. Sorry about this confusion. Your GUI should accept an integer, so it will accept it here in this text field as a user input, and in the text field. So here, this is what I was speaking about. We enter an integer here, then it should calculate this factorial by registering the action of the calculate button. So we need to register the action of the calculate button and manage it, and see how we can manage it by calculating the factorial after registering it and managing the action taken. Once calculate is clicked, your GUI should display the factorial in a separate text field. So we have two types of text fields. Actually, the second one should be about the display. We didn't explain about any display on this GUI. Now we will explain about it. So what we have is a text field for input. We have a text field for output. We have a button, and this button will take an action, and this action is calculating a factorial of an input, integer input for sure, because we calculate factorial for positive integers. All right, so let's go ahead and create the code for this program. Now we have an action to be taken, and we have to use two types of GUI components, or actually classes. The first one is the swing. We are familiar with it, so what we need to do is we import the javax, okay, .swing, all of it, all the classes available. Then what we need to do is we need to import another type of class components. Import java.awt. We bring all the components of the windowing kit, and then we bring or import some other components from this windowing kit. Why? Because we need actually the event in our program. Bring all is class, and then we need also the action. Also, we need to deal with an action, and we need also the action listener. So we need to import java.awt event we need action event, okay, and then we need to import we could have just marked as with asterisk. Yeah, that's enough. I don't have to import it twice. I can get whatever available in this event, all of it. Okay, that will do. So we have a public class GUI4, and this is our the title of whatever, not the title, actually this is the class name of our application. And now we need to create its components. We need to define or declare its components. As we did earlier, we can create, before doing that, we need to extend. So extends, this is what we learned, JFrame, so that we don't have to instantiate it. It will make our job much easier. Okay, private. Now what kind of components we have? We have two text fields, one for the input and one for the output. We have one text field, one text field for the input and two labels, one for the input and one for the output. Okay, and then we have a button and we have a panel to place all these components on. So now JText field, because we are receiving this JText field, receiving from the user the input. So JText field, let's call it input. Okay, and then we have also private component JLabel. We have two labels actually, so we can call in label if you like, and we have out label. Okay, then we have another component, the button. So it's from the class JButton. And we create, what's this name? Calculate. We can call it calc actually, for the time being calc. Then we can give it its own name. And we have also a private JPanel, and we declare also the use of panel. Okay. So these are the components that we have. We don't have any other actually at the time being for now. Now what we need to do is we need to create the constructor of this class so that we can execute some codes within this constructor. Now we learned earlier that the first thing we need to do is to call the superclass JFrame and pass the title, the name, okay, of the GUI. So we call the constructor of the superclass by the keyword super. Then we provide the name. Maybe we can say factorial, maybe calculator. Okay. As we learned earlier, we need to set the size. Well, we could have created a constant. So we could have created a private final integer and set the size of the width and the height. But it's up to you. You can do it directly by just setting the size to integers directly. It's just a matter of customization. Let's go a bit bigger this time, 450, 350, the width and the height. Okay, and then what we need to do, what we did earlier, we need to set the default close operation, and we need to provide exit on close. So JFrame dot exit on close. That will allow us to terminate the window when we click on the main closing button. Okay. Now what we need to do, as we did earlier, we need to customize the text field, the labels, the button, whatever button we have, and then we place them on the panel, and then we place the panel on the window. One more thing, we need to register the action of the button. So we need to call, or not call, actually instantiate an action listener interface. Actually not instantiate, register, and then create a class where we override the method, the main method of the action listening. Okay, so we will see it together. Initially, what we need to do is we need to customize those input. What we did earlier, we need to customize those JText field. And the question told us that we need to have 5, the size 5 for the input. And that means 5 characters as an input. And this text field, remember that this text field accepts text. That means whatever you input in it, will be considered as a string. Then we can parse it to any other type if it is suitable with that type, or if it matches with that data type. Okay, so we have in label equals new JLabel, and what we have here, we have at the label for input. What we need to do, we need to prompt the user what to enter. It seems that, yeah, of course I made a mistake. What kind of typo I did here? It's funny. Okay, label, and here also label. Okay, so we need to prompt the user, as the question is asking us what kind of prompt. Well, tell the user enter an integer number. Okay, integer number. It's a bit long, but it doesn't matter actually. For the time being, it's not a problem. Okay. Then we need also to create the out label. We need to define it, declare, instantiate it. In other words, sorry, more precise sense, label. And here I don't provide any default text. Why? Because I'm going to display something using this label, and we need to define also the calculation button and this button. We will just need to instantiate it using its own class. So this button. Now, what's its name? It was calculator. What was the name of the button? It wasn't mentioned. Okay, well, calculate. If it is not mentioned, just calculate. We place it. Okay, it wasn't mentioned, I guess. No, it was. It was calculate. Yeah, calculate. Okay, we are good. So now we defined all those. We need to define the panel that we are going to use. JPanel. So we declare for the available panel. Okay. Why do I have a problem here? Let me check. Let me see what's missing. Am I missing any? Did I define it? Panel, yes. JPanel, yes. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see what kind of warning it is. Cannot find symbol. JPanel. Application. Oh, I'm very sorry. How did I miss new? I'm very sorry, guys. Sometimes, you know, when we type codes, these funny and silly, you know, mistakes happen. If you do not instantiate, of course, you will end up having such a thing. And you know, when you know, sometimes even you get stuck, how you can debug this issue. I'm very sorry about this mistake. This is just because I forgot new, so it's not instantiated, and it was telling me that's not available, so it's not defined. I was stuck. How it's not defined? Okay, no problem. So this is my panel. So now once this panel is declared for, we can provide all the components. We can place them on the panel, then place the panel on the window. So this is what we did earlier. Let's do it. Let's place all these components to the panel. Okay, so now it's up to you to customize it. I would go for the text field first, then I'd go for the calculate button next, and then for the output field. I can say, like, the first one is tell the user what to enter, then provide the place where the user is supposed to enter, then the button to calculate, then after that a field where you provide the output. So let's do that. Let's do it based on this. First, let's put the in label. Let's place it, and then a panel dot add. Next to that, we set the input field, so place the input. Next to that, we set the button. And next to that, oh, we didn't call it button this time, we called it calc. Okay, next to that, let me go up a little bit so that you guys can see properly. Add. We provide here the last component, the at. We said it at, right? At label, yes. Then we place, before placing this panel, let me register, or we can register even before placing the button to the panel. I would prefer registering the button after placing it to the panel. So I would register this button like this, add. I need to add some action listener, this one. What does it mean and how it does it, I'll explain to you in a while. Action listener is exactly like an interface that we have that listens to any action taken by the user, especially with buttons and sometimes like mouse movement. So if there is a click, it will listen to it and create an event, and this event can be managed based on certain action. So this action is actually customized by us. So we can customize this action by implementing the interface of this action listening. Okay, so here what we have is we need to create a class, a separate class for dealing with this action listening. So action listener, in this case, let's call this class calc, maybe listener. I don't want to make a typo here so that we use the same names later on. For sure it will tell us that there is a problem. Why? Because we need to create the implementation of the action listening. So now it will tell us like there is a missing. You don't have to worry about it for the time being. Let me add this panel to the window and set the window to visible. Okay, so let's set the window to visible, and then say it's true. Well, we are almost there. We are done with the constructor. Now we need to exit the constructor and create a private class that implements action listening interface. Action listening is an interface, and you know, interface is not a class, it's a special type of classes. We categorize them by their own name. We call interfaces. They have abstract methods, and we have to implement these methods. And their methods are actually abstract by default, so we need to override them and implement their, you can say, outcome or whatever they are doing. Okay, so private, and this class should be private. Why? Because none of other outside classes should access to it. It's just restricted to our GUI in this program. So we call this one calc. Listener, I need to copy or actually provide the same name. I don't want to make a mistake here. And this implements, okay, action listener. Okay. So did I use the exact same word, calc listener? Calc listener. Well, let me copy it, because you know, many times it ran from my eyes like one letter and I got stuck with it. Okay, good. We are good here. Okay. Then we have one main method available in this action listener class. interface. We need to implement this, override it and implement it. So this method is actually public void action performed. Okay, I also do not want to make any typo in here. Okay, and inside here, as an argument, what we have is action event, and we have a name for it. Whatever the name here, the variable is, doesn't matter. Action event, not event. Okay, so we are good because this red, you can say, green indication came out. That means we need to implement or override this method. So there is no typo, there is no problem with this one. Now we need to customize our action, or whatever the action event is. So we have an event, the button click. What will happen when we click on that button? So when we click on that button, we need to calculate the factorial of the integer provided in the text field, okay, the input text field. And then what we need to do is we need to display, using another text field, the outcome or the factorial, the calculated factorial. Okay, so now what we need to do, initially we need to define or declare factorial. The way we calculate factorial, you guys are very familiar with this process. Let's declare for these two integer variables a cumulative multiplier and the whatever parameter that we use to get the number. Let's declare for a string to receive the text from the text box or the text field. So str equals input. This is the input that the user is giving us here. Actually, we need to get the text from it. So we have a method called getText. Okay, this one. So we are receiving the text input by the user, and then what we need to do, we need to provide num. Now here we need to convert this text to its original state, the integer state, so we can parse it. Dot parse, dot parse integer, and then we provide str. Once this text is parsed to integer, we can run our loop to calculate the factorial. So this loop can be from integer equals to num, and we go backward, we multiply as long as I greater than 0, then integer I, of course. Okay, then we keep decrementing I and multiplying, decrementing and multiplying. Okay, then what we need to do here is we use this the accumulative multiplier to multiply by I, and then keep on moving. That will create for us the outcome. We need to display this outcome. We can display text, not an integer number. So what we can do is out label dot set text. So get text, set text. I'm going to set a string. So I have a number to be set. I can convert it to string. So I use string as a class here, and I can use value of to convert the value of f as an integer to a string to be displayed. Let me get out of this private class and create our main method. And then I instantiate our GUI application, GUI 4, right? Yes. Okay. I have to have the parentheses. Okay, seems that everything is set, everything is fine here. There is no problem. All right, so this is what we explained step by step. Let's just run and then I comment about things. Okay, look, this is my GUI application. Enter an integer number. This is the field, then calculate. Let's enter a 5 and calculate 120. This is the factorial of 5. Now, you can try other numbers. Now, what I want from you as homework or as an actually practice for you, well, this is our code and I explained it step by step. I want from you to customize this code again To cope with what? To cope with problems of having like a negative input. So you need to customize here the type of input. You shouldn't accept negative. You should provide a case for 0. You should keep, or I tell you what, keep the input between 0 and 15. So this should be an assignment for you or a homework. You can customize, or you should customize the input to accept just from 0 to 15. If it is below 0, less than 0, negative, or above 15, it should give a message to the user, a message that this is a wrong input, try again or input again. Try it and let's see how it works with you. I hope you guys benefit from this session, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is, you can say, a basic real GUI application where we registered the input and we created some action. We have another more complicated session, will take much longer time, will have its own separate video. Until then, have a good time. Goodbye.